invite Anika for the keynote.
Hi, thanks, Justine, and hi, everyone. Thank you for joining in, and thanks so much for making time out for this 21st edition of Vodqa that we're hosting in Gurgaon right now. I'll talk about myself first very quickly. So I'm Anika Chadda. I've been with ThoughtWorks for 10 years now. Currently, I play the role of market unit leader. In market parlance, you can tap it as a general manager of an office who's responsible for the entire operations of that particular office. Otherwise, I have an industry experience of approximately 17 years. So before this role, I was part of the recruitment team, and all through my experience, it's been into IT recruitments. About this forum, Vodqa, first of all, I want to tell you about it stands for value-oriented discussion on quality analysis, and this is our 12th year in existence. We started off in ThoughtWorks as one of the platform to give it to the community, give it back to the community right in 2010, wherein the entire purpose was to give a vast spectrum of testing community and strengthening the tribe by sharing knowledge and also making sure what worked well or what did not work well for us. Originally, it used to be in-office session, and once this pandemic hit, we started doing some of these sessions on remote. But today, I'll take an opportunity to let you all know that we have experimented with the hybrid model, where a few of our thought workers are here in the office premises, and feels good to be back and see faces around. This time we have 3 years of listening live up to these amazing talks. We have a lineup of individuals, sessions wherein we'll be talking about enhancing testing skills with Playwright and chaos engineering. So I'll hand it over to Justine back, and she can take things ahead. Thank you.
Sure. So starting with our first talk, that is Playwright. Over to Aman and Shivani for the session.
Sure, yeah, thank you, Jasleen. Let me just share my screen. Yep, I hope everyone is able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Cool. Yeah, so welcome everyone to this 21st edition of Vodqa. And as part of the first topic, me and Shivani are going to present Playwright, and we will be covering some of the basic features of Playwright that will help you guys, getting started with this new automation tool. So just a basic introduction before we get started. So hi everyone, this is Aman this side. I'm working as a quality analyst in ThoughtWorks from past 1 year, and total I have around 4+ years of experience in the QA domain. Shivani, will you like to give a quick intro about you as well?
Sure, Raman. Hi, everyone. I'm Shivani Agrawal. I have been working as a QA for around 3.5 years, and I have been part of ThoughtWorks for around a year. Thank you for joining this session. Over to you, Aman.
Yeah, thank you, Shivani. So let's quickly get started with the first topic. So yeah, as part of this session, these are the following topics that we are going to cover. The first one is about introducing Playwright, like what Playwright is and why it is getting so popular in the market right now. Following that, we will try to compare Playwright with other tools in the market like Selenium and Cypress and see like what advantages Playwright has over these tools. After that, we will be writing our first script in the Playwright, and with help of that first script, some of the basic features of the that Playwright offers us. And then quickly, Shivani will going to demo on the out-of-box features that Playwright offer us, and we will see that how these features make our automation really easy. Ending the session with the POM design pattern, and we will see like how we can use page object model to do clean coding in the Playwright and get started with a small framework. And after that, we will be ending our session with the question and answers from the audience if anyone has on it. So yeah. So let's start with the what is Playwright. So Playwright is a Node.js based test automation library which is developed by Microsoft. So basically there is another tool in market called Puppeteer, which is used to automate Chromium based browsers, and that was developed by Google. Now that team in the Google, went to Microsoft and it became Playwright team, and they developed the Playwright library there. So why Playwright is getting so popular right now in market? Because of, it's a lot of features that it offers us. So like one of the feature is the cross browser testing. Second thing is it comes with its own native test runner. And there are a lot of out of box feature that it offers us, which makes our automation really easy. For example, video capture, PDF generation, tracing, and all. We will going to see all these features in going forward in the session, and we will try to demo you to see like how these features work. The next topic is about comparison of Playwright with other tools like Selenium and Cypress. So why Playwright is, what advantages Playwright has over Selenium? So Playwright basically comes with its own native test runner, right? You don't need to integrate or use any third-party test runner to run your test cases in Playwright. But in Selenium, you need to use third-party test runners like TestNG, JUnit to run your test. The second thing is Playwright supports auto weighting, whereas in Selenium, you need to explicitly define the weight in order to handle the dynamic web elements. But in Playwright, it handles it automatically. You don't need to write any code for it. The third thing is Playwright has a lot of out-of-box features like video capture, PDF generation, and emulating the mobile devices on the browser. Selenium offers us these features, but we need to depend on the third-party dependencies, and we need to download and install those dependencies to use these features. The fourth point is like Playwright supports multi-tab easily, handling of multi-tab very easily. Whereas Selenium, it is really complex to handle multi-tabs, and in some of these scenarios, it even doesn't work. Playwright also offers us a record feature in which you can just perform the action on the web browser, and in the backend, Playwright will generate all the code for you. Now, Selenium offers the same kind of feature with help of Selenium IDE, but there are some limitations that it will not capture cookies, iframes, etc. But in Playwright, there are no such limitations. Playwright is very faster as compared to Selenium. The reason being, like Selenium, for each driver action, Selenium sends a different HTTP request. Whereas Playwright just create a single session, it performs all the action at once, and then it closes that session, which makes Playwright a little faster than Selenium. The next thing is advantages of Playwright over Cypress. So Cypress and Playwright are almost similar kind of tools. They are both Node.js based tools, but there are some advantages that Playwright offers us, which over the Cypress. So the first thing is about the language binding. Now Cypress comes only with the supports only JavaScript and TypeScript, but Playwright supports 5 language bindings, mainly JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, C#. Playwright support all kind of modern web browser engines like Chromium, Firefox, WebKit, whereas Cypress doesn't support WebKit browsers. So basically WebKit browsers are like Safari. So these kind of browsers are not supported by Cypress. The third thing is Playwright supports multi-tab handling and frames handling, right? But Cypress doesn't support multi-tab handling. It's really difficult to achieve this in Cypress. In Playwright, you can choose your test runner. Like Playwright comes with its native test runner. It can support other third-party test runners like Jest, Jasmine, Mocha. Cypress only supports Mocha. The next point is we can run a single test in multiple browsers at same time in Playwright, whereas in Cypress, this is really difficult to achieve. Playwright supports parallel execution of the test cases by default, whereas you need to do a lot of handling in Cypress to achieve this behavior. And Playwright supports iframe natively, whereas Cypress doesn't have this feature. The last point is Playwright is completely free. Cypress is also an open source tool, but there are a lot of advanced features that Cypress dashboard offers for which you need to pay. But in case of Playwright, you don't need to pay anything. All the features of Playwright are available free of cost. So these were some of the comparisons that we came out, in which Cypress is having advantage over Playwright is having advantage over Cypress and Selenium. The next thing is like how Playwright works. So basically Playwright has 3 core principles. The first, to run a Playwright script, first of all, you need to create a browser instance. So browser instance is nothing but a simple instance of your browser on your local machine. The next thing is the browser context. So what actually the browser context is? So browser context is basically the incognito version of your browser. So whenever you launch a browser, right, so there is a profile created, and when you launch it in an incognito mode, those two windows are isolated from each other. That means if you are logging in one of the website on the normal version of the browser, the same website you need to log in again in the incognito version, because both of the environment are isolated and independent of each other. So Playwright uses this concept of browser context, which helps it to run a single test in multiple browser windows. And all those browser windows are isolated to each other. The next thing is page. So page is nothing but a website or a something, some URL that you're navigating on the browser context. So basically you created an instance, you launched your browser profile, and then you are navigating to a particular page, and then you are performing some kind of web actions. So these are the three core principles on which the Playwright script works. Yep. So basically, that was enough on the theory part. We won't bore you guys, with a lot of theory. We will quickly get started with our first script in the Playwright. But before that, we have a poll question for you guys. So Ankur or Kumar, can you just quickly launch the first poll questions so we can see if audience is able to answer it? Ankur, Kumar, are you there?
Yeah, just
Yep. Are we able to launch the poll questions, Kumar?
Yes, we launched.
Yeah, Shivani, I mean, is the poll completed? Because I'm not able to see it, so if you can help me on that.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's completed.
Yep. So can we quickly discuss the poll question and declare the results? Like,
Yeah, sure. Are you able to see the whole question on your screen?
no, I'm not able to see. So if you can just declare the result, and we can just quickly discuss that.
Yeah. So the question is, which of the following does not come with native test runner? And 24 people, out of 24 people, 20 people have selected Selenium, 2 of them Playwright, and 2 of them Cypress.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, the audience is like, the correct answer is Selenium. So the question is that which of these tool doesn't come with native test runner? So Selenium is the one which does not come with native test runner. We need to use the third-party test runner like TestNG and JUnit. So other people like who opted for Cypress and Playwright, maybe you thought of like, these are the tools which comes with the native test runner. So I hope that is clear. So yeah, I think we're good to start with the first script in the Playwright. So before we start the first script, we need to go through some of the prerequisites that we have. So that we should have the Node.js installed on our machine with the latest version. The reason I'm saying the latest version, because sometimes the older version doesn't work with the Playwright installation, because while Playwright is performing the installation process, it downloads the browser like Chromium, WebKit, and Firefox by default. So sometimes the older version of Node.js doesn't support this feature. So just make sure that you have the latest version of the Node.js on your machine. You should have Visual Studio Code ID on your machine. The next thing is the installation process itself. So to get started with the installation process, all you need to do is just open your IDE and create a simple project. So here I have already created a simple folder which does not have anything. So this is Playwright lesson. Now what I will do is I will go to this left panel, and here we have this extensions. Inside this extension, you just need to search Playwright. and it will list you down all the available plugin for this Visual Studio Code IDE. You need to download this plugin which is available, which is distributed by Microsoft. In my case, I already have this downloaded, so I will just straight away move to the installation process. To install Playwright for this current directory, all I need to do is open my command palette, and it will show me a command called test install Playwright. I will just simply select this command, and it will give me the browser options that it will download by default as part of its installation process. If you want to deselect any of the browser, or if you want to not download any browser, you can just simply deselect it. In my case, I will select all these browsers, and I will just click OK on this OK button. So it will launch my terminal, and if you see in my terminal, it has launched this command, npm command, which is initiating the Playwright download process, and it is also telling it to download these browsers engine like Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. So the installation process is really quick. It has quickly installed your Playwright on this current directory. And if you see, it has also, as part of this installation, it was downloading these browsers. So if I move back to my file explorer, it has added a lot of files in my current directory. So the first important file that it will add is the package.json. Now, people who are already aware of Node.js, right, who have already worked on Node.js before, they will be aware of it. But people who have not worked on Node.js before, I will just give a quick introduction like what package.json is. So package.json is, similar to pom.xml, where you can, mention the dependencies, third-party dependencies that you want to work with inside this dependencies field. And what it will do is it will download these dependencies and it will install it in your current directory. All you need to do is you need to run the npm ike or npm install command to install these dependencies. Now here we have a field called dev dependencies. So dev dependencies basically means that these dependencies will be installed only for your current directory or current project. If you want to install these dependencies globally, then you can just mention dependencies in case of dev dependencies. So it will install those dependencies globally. So this was a basic introduction about package.json. Another important file that it will create is playwright.config. So playwright.config is the file where you will mention all the config for your Playwright script. For example, we have this timeout here. So this timeout basically mentions that your test can maximum run for around 30 seconds, right? So you can just adjust this time based on your use case. Similarly, we have this fully parallel feature where by default, Playwright runs its test script in parallel mode. If you don't want to run your script in parallel mode, you can just make this as false and you can just execute the script in a sequential manner. Similarly, we have a use field where you can do a lot of configuration. Like if you want to run your script in a headless mode, or if you don't want to run your script in a headless mode, then you can configure those things here. If you want to set up some geolocation permissions, then all you can do is set up those permissions here in the use field. We will see all those things going forward in this session. The other important configuration is the projects where there are different browsers that are mentioned, and this helps you to specify the browser on which you want to launch your test script, and it also supports the mobile devices that you can emulate on the browser. So all these things you can specify in playwright.config file. The other thing which is created as part of this installation is this test folder, and inside this test folder we have this example script, and this is the script that we will use to get started with Playwright. So it is a very basic script which is just going on the Playwright official website, and it is performing some actions there. So I will just try to explain the basic syntax of a Playwright script using this simple script here. So the first thing which we are doing here is we are importing some things, right? So first thing is the test. So test is nothing but the Playwright test runner, which will help you to define the test cases, test suites, and use the test hooks. The second thing is the expect library. So basically, expect library is similar to your assert library, which helps you to perform the assertions like validating the URL, validating whether a particular string is contained in a particular message or not, and other things. So these are the one which we imported from the Playwright library. The next thing which we are doing is we are just defining a simple test case. So to define a simple test case, we use this test function. Inside this, we specify the name of our test, and then we launch this function. And inside that, you can write your Playwright code. I will come to this async and this await keyword later. But before that, I want to explain the other things. So here in this function, we have passed a page argument, right? So basically what this page argument is. So Playwright basically has some concept called test fixtures. These test fixtures tell Playwright that you need to set up a particular environment for this particular test case. Similarly, one of the test fixture is the page fixture. So if I go back to my previous slide, I explained you that Playwright works on three core principles, basically browser, browser context, and page. So what happens is that to launch a page, you need to first create a browser instance using this launch function. You can specify the browser that you want to launch as part of your test script. And then using this browser object, you need to initiate the context, browser context using this browser object. And then using the context object, you need to initiate the page object. So, and using this page object, you can navigate to the different website and URL and perform the actions. Now, what this page fixture does is it performs all these steps for us automatically. We don't need to initiate the browser instance and then initiate the browser context, and then using that browser context, initiate the page object, right? So this page argument will tell Playwright that you need to create that page fixture, and all you need to do is use this page argument and start performing the action on your web browser. So the next thing we are doing is we are navigating to a particular URL, which is the Playwright official website. And there we are performing some assertions using the expect library. Okay. And then we are finding a particular element using the locator. And then we are performing some assertion on that particular locator. And then using that locator, we are performing some action. So this is a simple Playwright script. Now what I will do is I will run this script, right? So before that, I will just go to my playwright.config file again. And if you see, like, there are a lot of browsers mentioned here. So what I will do is I will just comment these browsers for now, and I will just launch this script on a single browser. So mainly like Google Chrome, right? So this is the browser that most of the people use. I will just use the same browser for running this first script. Now to run this script, all you need to do is you need to type a simple command, npx playwright and test. So what it will do is it will run all the test cases which are present in your test folder. If you want to run a specific file, you can just specify the keyword that that file name contains, or you can just specify the file name entirely. For example, my file name is example.spec.ts. So I can just simply specify example here, and it will just pick up this particular file only and run the cases inside this file. So now I will just click on enter. Now, if you see, it is running one test. It used one worker to run this test. But in this case, it didn't launch the browser. Now, reason being is the Playwright by default executes your test case in a headless mode. Okay. If you want to launch the browser as part of your script, you need to specify the condition in your playwright.config file. So as I mentioned earlier, like in playwright.config, we have this use field, right? Here we can mention that config. So all we need to do is we need to enter the headless field, and you need to specify that, you know, this headless should be false. So what this will tell Playwright is that you need to launch the browser when I'm running a particular test case. So now I will just run this test again, and this time it will launch my browser. So if you see, it launched the Google Chrome, it went to Playwright official site, and it performed all sort of validations. Now Playwright by default generates a basic index.html report. So now we have run this test case, right? We want to see that, okay, what is the report, test report that is generated for this particular test case, how much time each action took, right? So what we can do is, if you see in the terminal, we have this npx playwright show report command, right? You just simply copy this command and run it. So what it will do is it will launch the report for the recent test case that was run. So I will just click on enter, and it launched my report in the default browser that is set up on your local machine. If you just click on this test case, this is my test case, right? Which I executed. If I just click on this test case, it will show me each step which was executed as part of this script, and it will tell me the time taken for the each step. And you can just validate, okay, is there any step that got failed, or which of the test case got passed, and what time it took. And based on that, you can do some optimization as well in your automation script. So this was the basic script in the Playwright and how to run a basic script. Now, the next thing which I want to show is this was the browser. We were running this script on our browser, right? If there is a requirement that we want to validate same website on a mobile device, right? So browser offer us, emulating the mobile devices as well. So Playwright has with the help of Playwright, we can simulate the same behavior for our test script as well. So what it will do is, if you go to this playwright.config file, here you see like we have imported some library called devices. So this devices offer you all sort of mobile devices that can be emulated on the web browser. So if I just scroll down in my projects, there is one device which is Pixel 5, iPhone 12. I will just try to uncomment this. And for now, I will just remove this iPhone 12. If I just put some inverted comma, it will list me down all the devices that this device module is offering me. So if you see it is BlackBerry, Galaxy Note, all sort of modern day devices that are there, it will offer us all these things. So I will just launch my iPhone 11 here. And what I will do is I will just uncomment this. I will comment this Google Chrome so that only my mobile device is emulated on the browser. And I will just put some weight, explicit weight here in my script so that we can see, okay, for some time our script is paused and we can see, okay, this mobile device is emulated, right? So for that, we need to do is we need to put up, we need to use the page object and we need to use wait for timeout function. And inside this function, you can specify the time for which you want your script to get paused, right? So like I'm just mentioning it has 4 seconds here. Now, if I launch my script again, so this time it launched my browser in a mobile device form, which was iPhone 11. So in this way, you can just validate the same website in the mobile device form. So this is how Playwright supports the mobile emulators. The next thing is about the coming back to our basic script. I mentioned like there are 2 keywords that we are using. The first is your async and the await, right? People who have already worked on Node.js might be aware of this, but I just want to explain this to everyone because you will be using these keywords a lot in the Playwright script. So basically, async means that you are declaring your function as asynchronous, right? So Node.js is basically asynchronous in nature. Asynchronous basically means that if you have 10 lines of code, right? So all those 10 lines of code will execute parallelly. That means the 10th line of the code will not wait for first line of the code to execute. So in this case, like, if we continue with this nature and we write our automation script and those automation script execute in same manner, so most of our automation script will fail, right? Because most of the time we are waiting for the first line of code to execute, and then we are performing some assertions when a particular web element is available. Now to control this nature, we are declaring our function as async, and we are using this await. Now what is the feature of asynchronous function is that it returns an object called promise. So this promise object tells that a particular operation is completed or not. And this await keyword, what it will do is it will wait for that promise object to be returned, and it will tell Playwright that it does not need to execute the other line of code until this promise object is returned. So in this way, this section of the code which is mentioned inside this asynchronous function, it will be executed in a synchronous way. And due to this, our automation script will not fail. If I just remove this async keyword from my function, you will see Playwright is throwing me some error. So if I just hover my mouse on this await keyword, it is saying that await expressions are only allowed within the asynchronous functions. So that is why the await, we declare our function as asynchronous, so we can use await keyword in our section of code. Now to demonstrate it, like what is happening here is I will just log some message before this function, and I will name it as first line. And similarly, I will put another message after my function, after my test function. And I will name this as last line. Now I will execute this basic script again, and we will see. So now the current expectation is that, first this line will be executed, then our test function will be executed, Okay, and after that, our last line will be executed, right? Now what I will do is I will put another log inside my test function. Suppose after this line, and I will name it as second line, right? So the expected order of sequence is first line, second line, and last line. But now let's execute this script and see what happens. Yep. So our script is executed. And now if you see the terminal, right? So what is happening is first my first line is printed, then last line is printed, and then the second line is printed. Now this is because of the asynchronous nature of node.js, right? So this last line, right? This 28th line of code is not waiting for this particular section of code to execute. So this console.log first line, my test function, and this console.log last line are running in parallel mode, right? So that is why we see that first line is printed, last line is printed next. And because our test function is taking some time, once it is executed, then our second line is printed. So that is why we are using async and await keyword in our Playwright script to handle this asynchronous nature of node.js. Yep. So the next thing I want to mention is about the test hooks that we can use, right? So we are using the Playwright native test runner, right? So it offers a lot of capabilities. So if you just simply type test, and then you can see like there are a lot of test hook that Playwright test runner offer us, like after all, after each, before all, before each. So basically these are the, like if you want to execute some piece of code or perform some action before your test case, you can use before all. And after the test case is executed, if you want to perform something, you can use after all, right? So after all will do after all the test cases, and after each will do after each test case. So this is how you can use the test hook of the Playwright native test runner. The next thing like which I want to showcase is about the tags. Like sometimes there is a requirement that we need to tag our automation test cases based on the smoke suite and the regression suite, right? So what we can do here is, in order to tag our Playwright test cases, all we need to do is inside the name, we can just simply type as @, and whatever name you want to give this test case. Like if it is under the smoke, you can just give it as smoke. And if it is under the regression, you can give it as regression. Now what I will do is I will again declare another function here. So what I have already prepared one function, and I will just simply copy it to here to save the time. So this function is just a minute. Let me correct the syntax. So this function I have declared as the regression test case, right? So what will happen is this is my smoke case and this is my regression case. Now the requirement is I only want to run my smoke test case, right? So in that case, what I can do is I can simply use a grep command. So if you just type simply command npx playwright test and the file name that you want to execute, and then -- grep, and you can just specify the keyword like smoke or regression for which you want to run the test cases. So I will just specify here as smoke. So what it will do is it will just run my smoke case. Okay, let me just see, like just mention it as smoke. Okay, let me just see the syntax again. Okay, I need to mention the @ before my keyword as well, and move the space here. Okay, somehow it is not working right now, but the thing is like I want to showcase is regarding the grep command. So
Aman, you need to remove the example from your command.
okay, yeah, thanks for helping out, Shivani. Okay. Somehow it is not working right now, but the idea to showcase this is that you can use this grep command to execute these tags based test cases. So if there is a smoke test case, then you can use a smoke keyword. Similarly, if there is a regression test case, then you can use the regression keyword. Now, if there is another requirement, like you want to execute the cases which does not have the smoke keyword, right? In that case, you can use the opposite command, which is --grep -invert. And what it will do is it will just execute the case which is not containing this smoke keyword. In our case, it will just execute this regression test case, right? So this is how we can do the tagging in Playwright script, and based on our use case, we can tag the test case and run it according to our convenience and use cases. So the next point in our demo is about the auto weighting. So we have talked about the auto weighting while comparing the Playwright with Selenium and with the Cypress 2, right? That in Selenium, we need to declare the weight explicitly to handle the dynamic web elements, right? But in Playwright, there is no requirement of handling the, declaring the weight explicitly. We can, Playwright will do all of these things for us automatically. So to showcase this feature, I have just written a piece of code for the auto weight. I will just simply copy this code and I will show like what this script is doing. So I will just create a new file here and I will name it as auto weight.spec.ts. Inside this, I will just paste my code here, right? So what it will do is it will go to this particular website called UI Test Automation Playground. And in this, it will click on this load delay. Now, if I click on this load delay, it will load for some time, right? And after that, our next page will appear. So let's wait for the next page. Yeah. So here it is. It is displaying this playground button here. So what our script will do is it will wait until this page appears, and once this page is appearing, it will just go on this button and it will simply verify whether this button is present or not, and it will simply click on this button. Okay, so now if I go back to my IDE, so you see like I have declared my script here. I have imported the things. I have used this test.use. So this is one of the way if you don't want to use this playwright config. So playwright.config is adapted by all these script which is present in your framework, right? But for a specific test case, if you want to specify a configuration, right, which you want for that specific test case only, you want to run it, right? So you can use test.use, and inside that you can specify the configurations. So then I have just declared a simple test case where I'm just going to that website. I'm clicking on that load delay. And then I'm waiting for my page to load. And then I am verifying whether my playground button is present or not. And then I'm clicking on the playground button. So if you see, I have not declared any explicit wait here. I'm just simply, writing the script. So what it will do is my Playwright will handle that load delay, which is there on the page. So now I will execute this. And what I will do is I will go inside my package.config file, and instead of launching the mobile device, I will just launch it on the browser for better visibility. Okay. Cool. Yeah, so now I will just run my script again. So it is launching my browser. Okay. By mistake, I just run the example .script. I need to run the auto wait. So what I will do is I will specify my auto wait keyword, which is present in the name of my test. So auto wait, and I will execute this script again. It will launch my browser again. It will go to that UI test automation. It will click on this load delay. Now it is waiting for that page to appear, and this is handled by Playwright automatically. And once that page appears, it has done the validations. And if you see, the test case got passed, right? So in this way, Playwright basically handles the auto waiting. You don't need to do anything from your side. You don't need to write any explicit way. You can just write the simple script. All the handling will be done by the Playwright itself. So this was a short example to demonstrate the auto waiting concept in the Playwright. The last part of this section is the multi-browser handling, right? Performing your test case on the multiple browsers. So that is also really simple in Playwright. All you need to do is you need to go in your package.config file, and you can just specify any number of browsers that you want to run your script on. In my case, I already have this Google Chrome here. What I will do is I will uncomment the other browsers as well, which will be my Firefox and the WebKit browser. I can also uncomment this Microsoft Edge. So all these browsers will be launched will be installed by Playwright by default when we are performing the installation process. Yep. So let me just uncomment this. So if you see now, there are 4 browsers: Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, and WebKit. So when I will run my script again, it will launch. It will run on all these browsers parallelly. So let's run our script again. If you see, it launched 4 workers, and my 4 browsers are launched, and it is performing the validation on all the 4 browsers parallelly. So all the 4 browsers are parallelly working. And this is how we can perform the cross-browser testing using Playwright. Now, if I just open my report, you will see that it will show the result on all the 4 browsers. So this is how my 4 browsers were working. So Firefox, WebKit, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, my test case got executed on all these 4 browsers. If I open any of this browser, it will show me the steps that were executed and how much time it took for each action was there to execute on this particular browser. So this is how you can perform the cross-browser testing easily using the Playwright. So all you need to do is you need to specify the browser in your playwright.config. So this was the basic features that I wanted to demo as part of the first script. Now going forward, we will see that there are some of the out-of-box features that Playwright offers us, and how we can use them to make our automation validation even easier. So Shivani will going to demo those features. But before that, let's have a another poll question. So Kumar and Ankur and Jaslin, if you can launch the second poll questions. And Shivani, over to you. You can show.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So the second poll question is launched. I hope everyone is answering that. Yep, I am ending the poll now. So yeah. Cool. So the question was like, what is the default execution that Playwright has, right? Default execution means like your test case will run in which mode, like parallel mode or sequential mode. So 17 people answered this question, and out of 17, 15 answered parallel and 2 answered sequential. So the correct answer is the parallel mode. So as I mentioned in my presentation, that Playwright by default execute your test case in the parallel mode. If you want to execute your test cases in the sequential mode, you can go in the playwright.config file and you can change the configuration from there. So Shivani, now we can quickly start with the out-of-box feature demo. And
Yeah. Thank you, Aman. Yeah. So as Aman shared within the comparison with Selenium and Cypress for Playwright, there is codeless automation that we can achieve within Playwright. So it can be done with the help of CodeGen. So what we actually do in case we write test cases with the help of Selenium or Cypress or any other framework, we tend to identify the element for which we want to have an interaction with, and we find that element and we put that in our code, and all the things we need to do manually. So instead of doing that, we have a direct record feature available within Playwright, which will help us interact with multiple elements and all those user interactions that we have with our website that can directly be recorded as a part of this CodeGen feature. Okay, and if we wanted to have if we wanted to do assertions more complex in our test cases, then we need to alter those recorded script. Otherwise we can use that directly. So let me show you how we can achieve that. So this is the command that Playwright has offered us, and where we need to write npx playwright CodeGen, and the rest of the thing is the part of your website. So currently I'm going to feature how I can do a recording of demoqa.com website. So if I just click on this, it will start recording my interaction with that particular website. So first it has launched my website, and as a part of it, as you can see directly, page.goto has the URL for my website. Okay, and now if I wanted to do certain clicks, okay, so let's say if I wanted to have an interaction with this alert frames and windows element. Okay, so as I hover over to it, it is directly trying to find that particular element, and it is showing the XPath or the paths that will be there to identify the locator for that element. And if I do the click action, as you can see here, that locator has been identified and I have done the click action. And as a part of this click action, a basic assertion has already been given by the CodeGen inspector itself. And as you can see, the important part corresponding to this CodeGen feature is that if we wanted to interact with multiple windows and multiple frames, if your page have multiple windows or frames available, it is easy to identify by the inspector those new tabs or new windows as well. So as you can see, as I have opened a new tab into my screen, there is this new tab function that has already been introduced as a part of this recording feature, which is not very well done within the Selenium IDE that we can use for recording. So this is how this recording works in the Playwright. And if I wanted to go for the frames, it will identify like what particular action that I have performed. And simply when we wanted to make use of this test script, simply we need to copy all the test script that has been created from it, and we can do more complex assertions on top of this script. But this recording features will avoid our manual intervention that we need to have, where we need to find each and every element again and again to complete our test cases. So this is the codeless automation that Playwright has come with, and this is the Playwright inspector that automatically opens up when you do the command run. Okay. So if I just end this command, automatically all the things that has been opened by this particular command for this recording feature, it will get closed. So it is necessary for us to have the copy of that recording with us before terminating this command. So this is the codeless automation that Playwright has offered us. Next, if we talk about multiple tabs and multiple frames. So as we listened in the comparison part, Cypress is having difficulties a lot with multiple tabs and frames, and it is not able to handle that. And within Selenium, there are certain limitations to it corresponding to it. When let's say if we wanted to have more than 3 windows available, then it will become very hectic within Selenium to interact with those kind of windows. So, but Playwright offers a way better visibility within these two scenarios, and a more easy test cases we can write with the help of Playwright. So if we talk about multiple tab scenario, this is the website that we have taken for the demo purpose. This is our parent window, and from this parent window, we wanted to open a new tab, and then we wanted to shift our focus to the parent window and open a new window again. So in total, we wanted to have 3 windows, and then we wanted to close this window one by one. So this is the scenario that we wanted to execute. So if we see here, if I inspect this particular element, this new tab element, this is the division, this lies within the div element of that particular element section, and within that div we wanted to we are going to interact with this step button with this particular ID. So the if we go to here, okay, so how Playwright in particular handle this multiple tabs. Okay, as you can see, there is an offering provided by Playwright, which is a promise function. Okay, apart from the await that is by default waiting for a promise to come to complete the interaction, there is an explicit promise.all function given by Playwright to us. So what this this promise.all function will do, before even performing your click action, we are putting a listener onto the context. So what it will do, even this await function, when it will get completed and our new tab will get opened, even after that our context itself will wait for the event page. So until that wait for the event page will get completed, this particular section will not be able to move ahead. And in this way, it is putting an assertion for new tab to get opened and for the event to get completed. Okay. So if we see here for this promise.all function, okay, so it is creating a promise, and only when that array of promises will get resolved, the block will move ahead. So this is how the listener works in Playwright. And moving ahead, if we wanted to see, okay, so if there are 2 windows available only within our tabs, then if we wanted to perform any action on the parent window without even shifting the focus, then it is easily can be done within the Playwright. But in case of Selenium, when we wanted to have interaction from the parent window, then we need to first switch to the parent window and then only we can perform an action. But here there is a flexibility when there are two tabs. And even if you wanted to shift your focus from child window to parent window, there is this inbuilt function that Playwright has offered us, which is bring to front, and automatically it will shift your focus from child window to the parent window. And the third thing that we have observed is that from the new tab itself, I'm also opening another window. So let's say we have 3 windows in total now, okay? And if we wanted to do actions of closing on these 3 windows one after the other, so in order to make Playwright understand how to communicate with these 3 windows, we can do that easily with the help of context.pages function. So this context.pages function, it will return the array of all the windows that has been opened as a part of this interaction, and those windows will get saved, their status will get saved in the array format, and we can interact with those windows with the help of indexing similar to the array. So our parent window will be the 0th index, and the last window that you have opened is n-1 index, okay? So similarly to that, if the test cases that I have written, okay, there is this before all hook where I have been launching the page. I'm opening, I'm going to my URL, and within the page handling, which is my actual test case, I am waiting for the first tab to get open. Then I'm putting an extra assertion on my body statement itself. So the division statement has a body on the new tab where the context of the page is containing the sample, like this is a sample page. So I'm verifying that extra element to, apart from this promise.all function, to verify that yes, the promise.all function has done its work, and even after that there is an assertion which is working completely. And after that, I'm bringing the focus to my parent window, opening a new window, and with the help of indexes, as you can see, all windows, second index, last window I am closing first, then the second last window, and then the parent window will get closed as a part of this after all function itself. Now, before running this particular test case, as Aman has showed you how to run tests with the Playwright native runner itself. But let's say if you wanted to work with third-party test runner like Zest. So how we can do that? We can, I wanted to showcase the third-party runner as well. So let's say if we wanted to have to work with Zest itself, okay. So Zest will work when the TypeScript will get converted to JavaScript. Only then your Zest will be able to understand how this test case will run. So here, within this package.json, apart from all the things that have come by default as a runner, as a packet.json, I have added the Zest component here, and within the Zest component, I'm talking about which of the files that I need to look for, the Zest will look for. So these are the extensions that Zest will look for, .ts, .tsx, .js, .gss, but currently we are working only with .ts file, and similar to Playwright config.json, we have this tsconfig.json where we are mentioning the compiler options. So what this compiler options is doing, they are converting the TypeScript to JavaScript, which is understood by the Zest runner, okay. And if we go back again to package.json, there is this scripts element, okay. So within the Playwright test runner, we don't need to mention any test related stuff here, because we are running with directly npx Playwright test. But here what we wanted to do, instead of directly using test, we wanted to move it to Zest. So we need to, in order to do that handover from test to Zest, we are going to mention within that script, okay, that this particular test case will run with the help of Zest itself. So if I go onto this, my window test.js, and I will make npm test and give the file name that I wanted to run, which is Windows. Okay. So if I do that, as you can see, this will run within Zest Windows. So Zest is running this particular test case. And now the complete thing that I have made understood, it has gone to the parent window. The child window is open, focus is shifted, new window goes open, and one by one, all the tabs are closed. So in this way, the tabs handling with the help of Playwright is easy to do, and we can interact with multiple windows and we can do operations on those windows easily with the help of indexing itself. So this is the multiple tabs part. Now, if we wanted to talk about multiple frames, so the same website we are going to take for the demo purpose. So let's say if I go to this nested frames thing, okay. So whenever we wanted to identify if there are frames available onto our website, we can do directly with the help of the inspect thing. So if you can see view frame source present in your right click, then yes, your screen will have frames available to it. And if we wanted to have interaction shifted from this element to this particular thing, you need to handle your frames. So if I simply do inspect, and if I wanted to try, if I wanted to know how many frames are available onto my particular website, if I simply type iframe, so as you can see, there are in total 1 of 19 iframes available into my website. And if I type frames, there are 31. So frames can easily be identified either with the help of iframe or frame, but this number will keep on varying if your website is having multiple ads or anything available to it. So if you can see, currently the count that is showing onto my inspect is 19, but if this, when my test case is getting executed, the number of ads will shuffle, your count will shuffle. Okay. So in order to identify how many frames are available onto your page, simply we can do that with the help of frames function, and it will return us all the frames that are available onto your page, and we can identify the number of frames available with the help of all frames dot length. But if I wanted to have an interaction with this particular frame, let's say, and if I go by the indexing format on this this way, okay, this all frames will have all my frames available to it. But as my number of frames will keep on shifting, I wanted to have a more solid parameter to work with. If I wanted to have interaction with only one window that is for my purpose. So in that case, what we can make use of this dot frame function, where we have the flexibility of giving the frame name or the ID or anything that is specific to the frame that is helpful for us only. So let's say if I wanted to interact with this frame only, and if I search with frame 1. So as you can see, within this body content, okay, and iframe source, as you can see, the ID of my frame is frame 1. So I have directly make use of this ID, and I have passed that name of the frame within my page.frame, and I can directly interact with my frame that I wanted to work with. And within this parent frame, as you can see, this is the nested frame scenario. Within this parent frame, I have child iframe, okay. And this is only one child iframe, but in your case, maybe there is a form which have multiple elements associated to it in your child frame. Then in those kind of interactions, you wanted to work with those multiple boxes that you need to fill. So how we can do that? Same with the same way we handle the tabs. So here from the parent frame, we can identify the child frames with the help of dot child frames function. So this dot child frames function, what it will do, it will return all the child frames in your parent frame in an array format, and with the help of indexing, you can identify the content of that child frame, or you can fill that child frame. So in this way, handling of nested frames or multiple frames within your window within Playwright, it's very easy to do so. So if I go ahead with frames.ts, the test case that we have created, okay. So within that, we are trying to identify the number of frames present in the page. We are trying to interact with the parent frame in particular, and if that parent frame is not null, we are identifying the content of that parent frame and how many child frames are available within that parent frame. And if there are any exceptions to it, if there are no child frame available, then we are logging the error for the same. So if I run this particular test case, as you can see, it got passed, and I have run it in headless true mode because I don't want it to launch browsers again and again. So this is all about multiple frames. So moving ahead, we wanted to discuss out-of-box feature that Playwright has offered us. But before that, can we have the third poll question, Jasleen?
Yep, we have got the poll questions. I hope everyone is answering them. Yep, I'm ending the poll now.
Yeah, so question here that we have put it down before moving ahead with utilities for debugging, because these are the same out-of-box features that Playwright has offered us, which will help us in debugging. So this is the question that we have, video capture, PDF generation, screenshot capture, or all. These are all three of them are supported by Playwright, and these are out-of-the-box features that Playwright integral has it with it. But Selenium or Cypress frameworks will need to have some extensions available for those features to work out. So this is the thing. Moving ahead with same utilities for debugging or out-of-box features that Playwright has offered us. So yeah. So now if we wanted to run a particular test case, and let's say it's a very complex test case that you wanted to run, and when the test case will fail, obviously it will show a error to you. But apart from the error itself, let's say if you wanted to see like on which particular element your test case has failed, or what exactly has been gone wrong with your particular test case, then you can easily do the debugging with the help of these three features. So these are inbuilt functions that have been provided by Playwright for debugging purpose. And what we can do here, in order to capture the screenshot of your page, you need to just provide this dot screenshot function. And within that screenshot function, you need to identify the path on which you wanted to store the screenshot that you are capturing. And if you wanted to take this screenshot of full page or half of the page. So by full page or by full page true or by full page false, what does it mean? That if you have gone through multiple pages that has a scrolling statement to it, okay. So what happens is if you do a complete scrolling of a page, then only you can see the lower parts of the content that particular page offers to you. But by default, whenever our browser will open as a part of the run by any of the frameworks, the scrolling will not be done automatically until and unless it is done by you. So if your full page is false here, only the default part that browser has opened, that will get captured. And if you make it as true, the browser will automatically do a scrolling from itself, and it will capture the screenshot for a complete page, along with the scrolling part. So this is how you can take a screenshot capture of your page, and it will work both in headless mode and in headless mode true or false. When it comes to PDF capture, similar to the capture that we do, okay, let's say if I wanted to print the statement, print this particular page in a PDF format, I can do that. We can do that manually with the help of right click on certain pages, okay. But PDF capture on a page we can do directly with the help of this .pdf function, and only we need to specify the path where we wanted to capture this particular PDF. And by default, this PDF feature will take the complete PDF of a page along with the scrolling part. It's not limited to what browser has opened us. So this is the PDF capture. And for video capture, this is done on the context part itself, okay. So on the context level, before our test case has started executing, we are going to mention that we need to record a video, and we are going to save it in a particular directory with a size that we wanted to have a video capture with. So the similar test case that we have done for this one, okay, frames one. If I do that, so I'm in context, I'm capturing the video, And at the end of my test case, I'm capturing the document, the PDF document and the screenshot. So this is done. As you can see, the video has come as a part of this capture, the document that we have created. And this is the screenshot that particular capture has been done for it. So these are all the utilities for debugging that Playwright has offered us. Now let's come to visual testing. Okay. So apart from this debugging features, we have another feature available to it. This is visual comparison and tracing. And we can do this visual testing with the help of comparing the two screenshots that we have available with us, or the tracing. So what this screenshot captured, the thing that we have done, okay, it is just capturing the screenshot, but it is not doing any comparison to it. So after capturing the screenshot, we can try to match the screenshot with a parent snapshot that we have available to us. So let's say if you have a certain kind of website available to us, where after each and every regression, the element components keep changing their positions. And whenever there is a scenario like that, you wanted to compare which exactly elements position have been changed, and you wanted to have the direct report available to you. So this can be done with the help of visual comparison itself. So as you can see, I have a screenshot captured by default with me, and I wanted to take a new screenshot, and these two screenshots will get compared, and we can see why this is failed or if it is passing or failing. So if I do npx playwright, sorry, test visual. So as you can see, I have tried to match my two screenshots, but they have failed, and we wanted to see why it is particularly failed, so we can see the directly test results. And this is the expected PNG that we wanted to have, and the PNG that has been captured as a part of this run is this one. So what exactly is different in between those two PNG is this particular ad that has been coming randomly on this particular website, and with the help of this diff PNG, you can easily identify, okay, this particular element is different from the parent image and the one that you got in actual. So in this way, we can have a regression on top of the element changes, or how we wanted to handle this particular ads. So this is the visual comparison part. And if we talk about tracing, so let's say if I'm navigating to a particular website, and if I'm doing some interactions with it, and I wanted to have a tracing stored for that interactions, so I can do this context.tracing start, and within that we are capturing screenshot and snapshot both. Screenshot is the image that we have seen so far, and by snapshot we mean the DOM content itself, like the DOM is getting completed, downloaded or not, and how that DOM is looking into our trace. So how this trace is similar, okay, this tracing is nothing but the network that we have seen, that we see in our in the inspector tools. Okay, so let's say if I'm doing some navigations within my particular website, and if I reopen this particular website, I can see what exactly happened as a part of this open, and this is the tracing itself. Okay, so this is the network that we wanted to have. So far what we are going to do is we are going to use this as a part of our, and we need to navigate through multiple elements, and we wanted to understand how this DOM content works, and sometimes it's botherable. But instead of doing that saving of her or doing string, what we can do, we can directly store these traces within our test case itself as a part of Playwright run, and we can store it in a trace.zip format. Okay, so let's say if I run this test case where I'm storing my tracing. So the test case has been passed, and as you can see, this trace.zip has been created. And if we wanted to see the trace what exactly has been stored as a part of the run. So similar to the reporting part that Aman has showed to you, we can see that how this tracing looks like whenever we have done, like when we open the page, what has happened, any network that has been done, when we click on this particular website, when we launch the particular website, what exactly APIs that has been called as a part of this element click, what time has been taken. And as you can see, if I'm going through this all, as you can see, this is the DOM content that I'm talking about. Since this is a very simple website, it's not complex, but we can identify first contentful, first meaningful paint with the help of this tracing itself on the basis of the image that has been loaded as a part of this trace. And also, like, we can identify the directly any changes in the network tab. Like there are currently 5 requests which are getting part of as part of this action click, but later on, let's say if you have 4 calls, then with the help of this zip file comparison, you can directly see which of the APIs has been removed from the network call and why it has been removed, if it is affecting any particular thing onto your website. So in this way, the UI testing part will help you a lot. So this is the tracing, visual testing and tracing that we have talked about. And next thing would be reporting. Okay, so far we have seen the reports in HTML format, which is by default has been offered to us in Playwright by Playwright itself. So the index.html for every test case run, it automatically appears to us, and we can save it and we can look for it in the future. But this is something, let's say, not required by you, or this is the format that is not sufficient enough for you to work with, or maybe you wanted to have a JSON result and you wanted to do some formatting on the JSON and you wanted to build certain dashboard, then this kind of HTML report might not be working for you. So in that case, there is this option available for us where we can do a custom reporting within the Playwright itself. So what you need to do within this report.ts, you need to create this .ts file, and within that .ts file, let me just go to that .ts file. So this is the .ts file. Okay, so within that .ts file, you need to make use of the reporter module, and you can make use of this FS module, which will help you to interact with your file system. And within this particular file, you can have your own logging statements that you wanted to have, and you can extract the data of the test cases with the help of this with the help of this test function. And on that test function, you can identify what is the title of the test, and with the help of this result parameter, you can extract the result status, like what is the wait time, what is the execution time, if there is any errors, the status of the test. You can make this constant data as much as complex as you want. And when you do so, there is this by default, with the help of this reporter.ts, you can have your custom report available to you, and you can either store your this generated report and make use of it for your execution purpose. So this is something which Playwright has offered us if we wanted to have JSON results, or the results which we wanted to have formatted in our way. So reporting is very easy in Playwright as well. So this is how reporting works in it. Now, the next thing is over to you, Aman, for the poem thing.
Yeah, thank you, Shivani. But before we start with poem, can we launch the last poll question?
Yeah, sure, Aman.
Yep, I think the question is launched. Okay, so I'm just ending the poll now. Yeah. So I mean, I've shared the result. Let me just share my screen. So question is like, what is the page object model? So I think most of us are already familiar with it. So it is a design pattern, a common design pattern that we use across the automation framework. So yep, let's quickly start with it. Yeah, I hope everyone is able to see my screen again. Cool. So the last section of this particular session is regarding the page object model. We thought that page object model will help anyone, any beginner to start, creating a framework in the Playwright. And basically, page object model design pattern helps you to, do clean coding in your automation test script. So just quickly starting with page object model. I know many of you are already familiar with this, but just I will give a quick refresher. So page object model is just a common design pattern which we use in the automation frameworks. Basically, it helps us, in introducing the abstraction over the web classes, web page classes, and so that we can use it, in multiple test cases. So in page object model, we treat each page of a web application as a separate class, and inside that class, we define the object repository of the web element specific to that particular page only. And this help us to, maintain our code in a better way and to reuse the different functions and web element in different classes and make our framework more robust. So to demo the page object model, we are using a simple example. So let me just open this website. So this is one website called sourcedemo.com. What we will do is we will simply log in this website, and here we will get a list of items. We will select any one of the item and add it to the cart, and then we will complete the order process. So the order process is that you need to check out, you need to fill some details, and then you need to complete the order. So at the end, it will show you one message called thank you for the order. And what we will do is we will go back to the home and we will just log out from the window. Now, what for this demo, we have already prepared one sample script to save the time. But just to give an explanation, like, why we should use form. So right now we have seen the entire flow, right, of purchasing an item and completing the order. Now, if suppose I just write entire script in one class, right, it has no issues, right? It will be executing properly and we will be able to achieve what we want to achieve, right? But similarly, if we have a use case where we want to use similar sort of function, like suppose if I take example of this test function, right? I'm writing this function here in this class, but same piece of code I want to use in the other test cases as well, right? So what will happen is that I am duplicating the code, right? I'm using same code again and again in multiple classes. And if I have to change something in a particular function, then I need to change it into all the classes. Similar goes with the web element, right? If there is a particular web element whose XPath or CSS selector is just changed, right? And if you are using that particular web element in multiple classes, right, you need to change it in all the classes. Now, advantage that page object model offers us that, we can easily maintain our code if we face any of these scenarios in our automation script, right? So what we do is like we have this login function, a login page, right? This can be created as one one page class. Then we log in into the page, into this website, we get a list of cart, right? Where we have the logout option. We can just create another page class for that particular web page, and we can name it as logout. Similarly, we have other pages called order, right? Where we are completing the order process, right? So we can just specifically create a page class for that section and we can name it as order class. So if I just go back to my IDE, what we have done is we have just created a simple folder called page, right? And inside this page folder, we have declared all our page classes. So first one is my login page, which is my home page. Then it is the logout page in which I will log out from the web application. And then we have created a order page, which will contain all the web element related to the order pages. So I will just go inside one of this page class and make you aware of the basic syntax. So it is somewhat very similar to like Selenium only. So we are just creating a default class. And what we are doing is we are creating a constructor in which we will pass our page fixture, right? So in Selenium, we pass driver object, right, in the different page classes. Similarly, we will pass the page fixture here in the different page classes. And we will initialize this page and, assign the value to the current page object. Similarly, we are declaring our web elements, right? And this dollar here is the web handle, which basically helps you to declare the XPath and the CSS selector or locator of the particular web element. And then we are just defining the action items that we are going to perform on the web page. And we can also collaborate these action items and can, collaborate it into a single function which we can use in the multiple test classes, right? Similarly, the other classes are same, right? Logout class, order class, all these classes are similar. Now, what is the advantages? Like if I want to use this function, I can use it in multiple test classes. Now in future, if the X path of this particular locator changes, right, I can just directly change it from here and it will be reflected in all other test classes. Similarly, if some functionality is changed, right, so I can just directly change the functionality or flow of the functionality in this particular function, and it will be easily reflected in the other test classes. So I don't need to change it into the multiple classes. So this is the flexibility that page object model offers us. Now this is the page folder. We have created our page classes. Now we need to import these page classes into our test classes. So what we have done is we have created a small demo of placeholder, and this is our test class. We have created a test class inside this test folder, and what we are doing is we are simply importing these page classes first of all in our test classes, and then we are declaring a test suite. So describe here is used to declare a test suite, right? And inside this we are creating the object of our page classes, page fixture, and that keyword is basically to create this object for this current function only. So that's for the function scope. If we want to create a particular variable, we use the let keyword. And then we have this test.beforeAll hook in which we are passing our page context inside the constructor of this page classes, and we are initiating that constructor. And then we have our test, which is the actual test that is going to be executed. And in that, what we are doing is we are simply importing the function from these page classes, and we are just passing the data. Now here we have passed the hardcode values because this is just for a demo, small demo purpose. But what we can do is we can create a separate config file or JSON file to store this data in those files, and we can import this data directly from this config file. But for the demo purpose, we have just hard coded these value, and these are then we are using the expect library to do the validation. So if you see like the flexibility that it is offering us, right, we just simply importing the function and passing the values and getting the result. And similarly, same thing we can do in the other test classes. So this is the flexibility that page object model offers us. And now what I will do is I will simply run this test case, and we will see the entire flow. So to run the test case, I will just simply run the command npx playwright test, and this time I will pass the keyword as placeholder, which is the name of my test class. So now I will just run it. It will launch the browser and it will execute the entire flow. It will logging into this website, and it will add the item to cart, and it will complete the order process. Yep. So now my order is finished. Now I'm logging out from the website. So that you can see now like how easy it was to maintain your test cases. And similarly, if you want to execute some similar sort of test scenario, you can create another test class and use these functions easily. So this is a demo on page object model, so that it can help people to get started on creating a framework in Playwright. The last thing, like in the initial part of the session, we were covering about the tagging, right? But somehow it was we were getting some strange issues. So just quickly want to showcase that as well. So yeah, like here I have this smoke function and I have two regression functions. So I will just quickly execute this command using the smoke keyword, and it will just execute my smoke test case, and it will not execute my regression cases. So if you see, only my smoke test case is executed and my regression test cases are skipped. So this is how you can use the grep command for tagging your test cases. Coming back to the slide. So the last part of the slide is the popularity. So this is some of the data that we got from the original website of the official website of the Sneak, and this is the popularity that Playwright has right now. It has like more than 40,000 GitHub stars, and it has been declared as an influential project. And version wise, it is getting more popularity day by day. So this is the data on the popularity of Playwright right now. So yeah, that's it from our side on this session. I hope you guys like this session, and if you have any question, we can take that. Yep, over to you, organizers.
Yeah, hi again, everyone. I hope you found the session quite useful and informative. We will be posting a chat which will contain the feedback form. I hope you found the feedback form. Please go ahead and fill the feedback for this talk.